Welcome back to part two of Truly Own Your Own Website. This next bit is pretty much part two of hopefully three of the explanation about how the likes of Wix and Squarespace and other all-in-one build-your-own website companies work, and how it's I think a bit of a downfall because of the way that they consolidate all the functionalities into one and miss out a few, if not many, criterias. And to do this, I need to quickly step back to maybe about 50, 60 years to the birth of not just the internet, but the programming languages themselves, and focus on, say, for example, C programming, COBOL, Java, and Python. All of these are our recent programming languages and are the foundations and the building blocks of a lot of coding languages that are important to every single, not just computer hardware, but in computer software and server-side development. And the reason why I'm mentioning them is because all of these languages themselves are consolidated, meaning that certain functionalities, like for example, that would have had to been hand coded in the past, like for instance, how your graphics works, how the mouse works, how the audio that you're listening to actually works. All of these would have been programming languages that have been reused again and again in order to make sure that you have the perfect content. And a lot of developers, scientists, and mathematicians have gone through the trouble of choosing which code works for them, of choosing the functionalities and limitations that can be a massive time saver instead of actually coding it from scratch. Operating systems like the likes of Windows, the likes of Mac OS X, who are built predominantly on the Unix and the Unix C programming language, cut these corners because they know that it's safe to do so. They spend a lot of time making sure that they can consolidate all these little functionalities so that at a click of a button these features can be standardized, work, and they will guarantee that the operating system will work perfectly fine. How this applies to the all-in-one web builders is so the likes of Wix would say, okay, right, this is a website, and this is a template that contains a navigation, footers, content, a shopping cart, a web form. All of these are consolidated features that really should be focused upon by a true developer. And the reason why is because at this stage, standardizing the form is not a possibility, because it's a creative process rather than a functional mathematical process. And that, I think, is the problem, is that you allow the likes of Wix and Squarespace and the all-in-one builders to go, this is the final look of the website and this is the way it should look. Meaning that you get a lot of websites that use Wix, a lot of companies that use Wix, they look very similar because you know that the form is exactly the same. You know that the header looks quite familiar from another website that's actually used either the same template or the same style. And that's the reason that we find it difficult to actually convince the client that rebuilding their website in something that is more that belongs to them and a little bit more bespoke is important to give a unique identity. So the likes of, say, Eurostar compared to British Airways, there's a distinctive look and feel between those two brands. The likes of Nike compared to Adidas, there's a distinctive look and feel to those two brands. And they move away from that functionality because they don't consolidate, they build professional websites, and that's the main point. And so other examples would be the where they've consolidated is the downfall is the template itself. So the layout itself, if you wanted to redefine your website completely from ground up on a all-in-one builder, the all-in-one builder like Wix and Squarespace pretty much do not let you change the template once you've set it. it will be at a costly fee, and pretty much means that, oh, you can switch from one to the other, but once you've chosen that look and feel, it's going to be very difficult to not just, for instance, move away from Wix and go to Squarespace from one builder to another. But if we were to take it on board, we'd have to find ways of migrating all of that content from the all-in-one builder to something that you actually own. So the changes and updates are very, very difficult to do. So what we mean by actually owning the content is the storage information, like for example the images. They are on another person's server, meaning that Wix owns the server, you don't. Where we give you the functionality to say, well, is this server and all the images and all the text and so on belong to you, whereas Wix and Squarespace, it's their server, that's their content, and that content is shared with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different domains, and that limits your bandwidth, that limits the speed of your website, because you're sharing that space on a server, on a hard drive, with hundreds or thousands of other domains sharing on a space that has hundreds of hard drives, hundreds of servers, and all of that is limiting the speed of your website and having an effect on your SEO, having an effect on your build. So again, SEO itself is limited by Wix to a certain extent, because you have to pay a premium in order to actually get found on search engines. So again, storage, content changes, bandwidth, those features are costly. And then going to adding stuff like advanced functionalities like, well, let's see, social media, web forms, newsletters, live chats. All of those advanced features cannot be made available freely through an all-in-one. It's even at premium cost, you have to pay for advanced add-ons in order to make those consolidated features come to life. So where we come in is pretty much allowing you to own the content yourself. So any massive changes would have to be basically predefined. We talk to you, we allow you to actually work out whether this works for you in in the way that the website works. So if you were to have a shopping cart feature, maybe it would be beneficial to actually have something that works with the end result of your website. So we talk to you about what your end result will be, what the layout would be, what the functionality would be, and give a final quote. And any additional changes would be part and parcel of the pre-launch. So after launch, then we basically work out if there's any last minute tweaks that needs to happen, any subtle changes, and that is part of SEO as well. We just make sure that that's pre-built in and predefined, so that the moment that the website is launched, that it is already registered for search engines to find. And yeah, it's important for the small trader in order to actually make sure that they are found online, because their leads are generated specifically from search engine results, and also from social media interaction, and even from shopping cart functionalities. So the next bit would be just making sure that you are basically finalizing your website, and exactly how that conclusion will be done in a nutshell from Hertfordshire Web Design. So be sure to like this, be sure to share or subscribe to get further updates. But again, we'll move on to the final third part. Thank you very much.